Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crossing Borders. Of course, I'm Mike Ginn. That is former UFC fighter and Luke's color commentary, Alex Extremo Soto. Alex, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, Mike?
Another sunny day in San Diego?
Yeah, just another terrible day of high taxes and high sunny days, man. It's beautiful out here.
Yeah, we got low taxes, but we got a cloudy day today, so not so bad in Tampa. I think it's like 10 degrees warmer though than you got. So
it's the sun. What's it called? The sun tax here.
The sun tax. We get plenty of sun down here. That's why we're called the Sunshine State.
Okay, all right.
Today we're going to be talking a little bit of LUX Fight League 22. Of course, it doesn't come up until May 26th, so we're going to be profiling a couple fighters each week until then, giving you a little bit more in-depth behind the scenes, so you know what's kind of going on before the fight card gets here. We usually don't have so much time between fight cards, so this is a good chance to get a good look at. We're going to be taking a look at Lazyboy, Luis Rodríguez, and also another up-and-comer, Roy Benavides out of Costa Rica. So we'll take a look at a couple of those guys. Real quick, though, make sure you check out FightersFirst.shop. Of course, all the latest and greatest merch, including Alex's new Vintage 22 shirt, celebrating his debut back in 2009. So take a look at that. Take a look at all the great stuff, FightersFirst.shop. And then make sure you like and subscribe, too, because, we got to get all the promo in while we're at it.
That's right.
Real quick before we talk about these fighters, last time we talked, we were talking about the vacant women's fight coming up. That has been filled. We were talking about it. It should be Orozco in that fight. She was the contender at the time. So she is going to be in the strawweight championship and is going to be going against Diana Reyes. So that's going to be a fun, exciting fight. Maybe next week we'll take a closer look at Soraya Orozco and maybe one other fighter on the card. But she was supposed to get the shot, so it's kind of fair that she is the one, at least half of that card. So that's pretty cool. Just want to update fans on that.
Really cool about that. Like she's been, I think Soraya Orozco has been just on fire, man. So I'm looking forward to watching that fight.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched the last couple of fights when we were talking about her with Torres, and yeah, she's really fun to watch. I don't think Torres liked our coverage last couple weeks ago. She gave. I tagged her in the story that we did, and she gave like the cringe or rolling eyes type look. So at least she watched though. So thank you for watching. We're fair. We're fair. I mean, honestly, we didn't say anything bad about her. She's got a great up and coming career. We just thought, this is where you probably should be, and she obviously has a different path in mind, and I hope it works out because we want to see all fighters succeed. Unless you're Colby Covington, whatever.
Yeah. What are you talking about, man? Cody Covington's the man.
How could you say that? You just sat next to Masvidal like a month ago.
Well, hey, listen, he went out there and they handled business, and it turns out Colby Covington is the man. So
yeah, and then they went to a restaurant and handled different business, and Covington wasn't the man anymore.
No, at that point, you still got to pay for what you say, man. Those are the rules,
We'll get to these looks real quick, but yeah, on that topic, it drives me crazy that everybody thinks, oh, it happened. They fought in the cage. If he had a problem, he could have settled it in the cage. You don't know what's said behind the scenes. These guys have known each other for a long time. Yeah. You don't know what was said off of mic, just because not everything is called on mic. You think, oh, Covington called him a deadbeat dad. He didn't talk about his kids. Well, that's offensive to a dad in the first place. and B, you don't know what he said off of camera. Like, these guys have known each other for a long time. And I'm sure lots of insults have been passed. And speaking of kids, when this happened, I told my daughter, I was like, this is an example. Don't do this. Don't go out and just like sucker punch somebody. But this is an example. If your words have consequences, you can get touched. We live in this world where everything is social media or press conferences, and you think we'll fight in a licensed arena and get it all out of the way. No, these are people that live real lives, that cross paths. They both live in Miami. Like, you got to be careful with what you say, right, Alex? Like, people, there's consequences.
Hey, man, it's funny. People get all courageous online and stuff, and and then when they're met face to face, then you got yourself a little problem, a little situation where you got to back up what you say, man. And so, yeah, man, 100%.
just like Will Smith and Chris Rock. You can get touched.
You can get touched. Yeah, exactly.
You can get touched. Oh, you think he's sitting right there? He ain't gonna touch you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about your wife.
Boom.
Nope, he got touched.
You got touched.
And we won't get into whether that was staged or not. That's a whole different story. But let's go ahead and jump and talk to some MMA. We'll start off. Luis Rodríguez, Lazyboy. I noticed the promo for Luke's when they first announced his card. Ironically, the last time Lazyboy was in LUX Fight League was at 8. And guess who headlined that card?
Who was it?
Sergio Casio. So, ironic how that comes around. Casio, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a gringo. Stop that, Alex. A gringo.
Sorry, man. It's like, who the hell did you what? Oh, you mean Casio.
Draco.
Casio,
Look, and he all of a sudden here it is. This guy, Luis Rodríguez, is very explosive. He was on Dana White's Contender Series. He lost a very tough matchup to Jerome Rivera. A fight he arguably could have won. That decision could have gone either way. I rewatched that fight last week when we were first talking about doing this, and since then he had one fight against Paul Marquez Moreno, an Icon, which he won with a left hook. This kid is extremely explosive. A lot of his fights end with KOs. He is a killer in that cage for a bantamweight. I know that kind of like warms your heart. By the way, both these guys say are bantamweight, so this is right up his domain there over there. But he goes for the kill. He's one of those dudes, if he gets you hurt, he goes for the kill. Now, the only loss he has is in the Contender Series to Jerome Rivera. He was undefeated, he has one other loss before that to Morales back in 2018, which was a split decision. So both his losses, very tough decision losses. He's going for excitement. He's going for the kill. What do you remember about him from back in like LUX 8 when he was there?
He's just a powerful, explosive guy, like really strong. And, when you're looking at 35ers, you're looking for guys that have that powerful right hand. And you're right. I mean, you're looking at his record. He's got a tons of experience already. And those losses were very tight, and has made, already has, out of the Contender Series, has already come back and got a fight back in it with Icon and got that W. So, and he's got a lot of time in on the cage. That's another thing about bantamweights. You get a lot of time in there. You don't see a lot of knockouts, but man, this kid is putting people out. And in his last 5 fights, 3 of those have been knockouts. So.
And over in JFL, he also won their Grand Prix, their bantamweight Grand Prix, and cashed in $50K.
Yeah,
I mean, this kid's a winner.
Legit. Yeah, this kid's legit. It's going to be a really interesting matchup. And, if he gets through him, maybe we got, a future challenger here at the 135 pounds for Beltran, so that'll be interesting. There's a lot of mix, a lot of really talented pool at 135 pounds.
Which is also a good timing, right? Because we got this in May, and then in June, which is a whole nother matter. I don't know why they're not doing Pueblo in May with all Cinco de Mayo and everything. Just saying.
Yeah. Hey, that would have been great, man.
I'm not in the marketing department, but I'm just saying it would have been better to do that in May and the other one in June. But what do I know? Anyway, Battle of Pueblo. Just saying, Cinco de Mayo would have been a good.
It's bigger in the United States than it is in Mexico. That's all.
Of course, because it's the Battle of Pueblo. It's not Independence. It's not any of that stuff. But it is the Battle of Pueblo, and if you're going to go to Pueblo, literally in June,
I agree.
Why not do that in May to celebrate the anniversary of the fight?
I'm just happy that we're going to a different place now. I love traveling to Mexico. No, this is
you got that travel bug, so yeah, you love to travel,
huh?
I was saying, yeah, you love to travel. That's perfect for you.
No, man, it's perfect, man. I love it. I didn't even for me, it's just going out to Puebla. That's going to be amazing. Check out the new town. Check out new people. Check out new food. Man, it's going to be awesome.
And everybody at home knows he had to mention the food.
Yeah.
But back with Lazyboy. So 2 things come to mind. One, I don't know if he's going to be battling Beltran for that title, because I honestly think a lot of these guys that have gone on Contender Series and had fun fights and exciting fights like he did with Rivera, they're 1 or 2 fights from getting another shot at the Contender Series, or just a shot at something going on in the UFC if they need a late replacement, right? So he could be another one and done with Luke's and go right back up if he's impressive. But the problem he has is he's facing Cesar Vasquez, who himself is 5-1, who himself has been around for a little while now. This is his, I think every single fight he's had has been in LUX Fight League.
Yeah.
What do you know about Cesar Vasquez?
Well, Cesar Vasquez, again, a striker type fighter, so it'd be a really good striker versus striker type matchup in this next fight. I think the power is gonna go towards Lazyboy, but when it comes to technique, we're gonna go with Cesar on this one, just because he's a little bit cleaner on his punches. But the power, the experience, all lies on Lazyboy, man. So it's gonna be an interesting matchup. Good opportunity for Cesar too to get in there and get a win on a very high level opponent.
Yeah, I mean, if he upsets Lazyboy, you're talking about opponent for Beltran, assuming Beltran takes care of business in June.
Yep. Exactly.
But then also Beltran has unfinished business with several other fighters, so who knows? But that bantamweight division's up for grabs, and if Vasquez comes in, takes care of business against Lazyboy, not only is he now a bigger name because Lazyboy has that crossover with Dana White in the UFC. You beat a guy that's been on the Contender Series, now all of a sudden you're elevated. So there's a lot on the line for this, and it's a dangerous fight for Lazyboy because if he loses, now all of a sudden he's like starting from scratch, trying to climb his way back up. And Vasquez has nothing to lose.
Yeah, you're right. Vasquez is on the, honestly, I think it would be more difficult for Vasquez, really, because Vasquez, hasn't really had a big name opponent, for Lazyboy. So when Lazyboy and then beat, it really is. I think it's more a loss for Vasquez, or win-loss, I should say. If he wins, huge opportunity for Vasquez to get back in the mix, really become something. But if he loses this fight, man, he just becomes another 135 pounder in the really thick 135 division for LUX Fight League.
And his only loss is, and this is not about Vasquez, it's about Lazyboy, but Vasquez's only loss is Cardozo, who's another lights out up and coming fighter. So, and he took him the distance. So he's no slouch, and Lazyboy's going to have his hands full. So definitely keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on Luis Rodríguez, Lazyboy. He's a fun, exciting fighter. Like Alex said, he has a lot of pop in those hands, and he can get you. And what I saw against him in his last fight, he fought Moreno. What I saw was that he straight up went and he hit that left hook, and it was lights out. And other fights he's had is as soon as he gets you hurt, he jumps on you. He doesn't sit there and wait back. He jumps on you. That Fiera fight that he had last in LUX 8, he was he got him on the ground and he just swarmed. Now, the only thing I'd say his only downside is he has no patience. He kind of goes for the kill all the time, and sometimes you get caught like that. And what I saw against Ferreira is that he kind of punched himself out a little bit. Now, he had Ferreira hurt, so it wasn't a dangerous situation for him because he was on top. But you could clearly see he had to stop a second, deep breath, and then go back and try to finish him because he wasn't going away as quick as he wanted him to.
It kind of reminds me of John Lineker, actually, kind of the same kind of style,
Yeah, it's a lot of
power, and if he doesn't knock you out, then it's gonna be a long day for Lineker. But man, but even though we're talking about 125, 135, but yeah, very very similar styles, both those guys.
Let's be real, Lineker could fight 135 if he wanted to. He is built like a monster.
He's a beast, man. He's a beast.
I think he walks around at 170. So for him to cut to 125 is crazy. But we're getting sidetracked as we always do.
Here we go again. Sorry, man. It's my fault.
Always. Never my fault. What?
No, come on.
The other guy on the card, we're talking about is a little less known. He is an up and comer, Roy Benavides. He's out of Costa Rica, young 21-year-old kid, not a lot of experience. His only loss came back in last year, about a year ago, to Chris Reyes. He's fought all his fights in Costa Rica. It's his first time really stepping out on the grand stage. I saw his last fight against Valencia, and he got the stoppage in the second round. And what you saw in that fight was patience, like totally opposite Lazyboy. Now, one thing Benavides doesn't do really good is like he loves to try for the takedown, and he loves to try to wrestle and mix it. He does a great job of mixing everything up. But what he doesn't really do is any of those great. Like his hands are his best weapon. He's very patient with his hands. He tore Valencia's face up. Like Valencia was busted all up in his face. Now, when he got Valencia down, he was going for the rear naked choke, and he was really good at transitioning, realizing he's not going to get this choke. Let me start raining bombs from the side of his head and, face down. And he got the stoppage that way. So I give him a lot of credit for a young kid. He knew how to make that transition. A lot of guys get stuck in a mode of like, this is how I'm going to finish you, and this is all I'm going to do until I finish you. And you look at last week with Sterling and Jan, right? Sterling went for 2 rounds trying to get that rear naked choke, and by rounds 4 and 5, it was Jan on top. Now the decision I'm not going to get into. We've debated that enough this week. Jan won. I don't know if anybody heard me. But
here we go.
But anyway, no, actually, I thought it was a draw. But that's just a whole. No, I did think it was a draw. I thought it was Peter Yan won 1, 4, and 5. But I think Sterling could have got a 10-8 round in either round 2 or 3 or both, because not only was he in control, he was going for the finish the whole time.
Yeah.
Whereas rounds 4 and 5, Yan was just laying on him. So I do think it should have been a draw. I think Yan won 3 rounds, but I think Sterling should have got a 10-8 round. I know that's an easy way out. Nobody ever wants to hear that in an MMA fight. But I do think it was a draw. And I did pick Sterling to win because I knew Yan was having trouble with his corner, because his whole corner was stuck in Russia with the conflict. So who knows? They'll run it back eventually. Dillashaw's next, but they'll run it back. But Benavides, speaking of 135-pounders, another young, explosive bantamweight. What do you know about a lot of these Costa Rican fighters that come up and start like fighting in Mexico, and the styles and that they come out with?
Well, the Costa Rican team out there has been pulling up a lot of the 125-pounders, 135ers, very active. And I keep hearing this a lot, that they're wrestlers, but when they show up, they're strikers, man. And they end up,
this kid's clearly a striker, but he can wrestle.
Yeah, exactly. One of the first things that I looked on this kid's record is that he has all his losses, including his amateurs, were submission losses, right? Which tells me, okay, all right. So this is something that he needs to look after when he's fighting, a guy that has, the same kind of experience as him. So, but those guys that from Costa Rica are just always really, the ones that I've seen in LUX Fight League have been like really awkward in their stances, really unique striking, not very traditional Mexican stand and bang, just awkward, what's it called? Just stances.
Yeah, he kind of has that, almost like that Conor McGregor karate stance almost when he's kind of coming at you. What I see from Benavides is a lot of patience. Like I said that before, but he's good at a lot of things, but he's not great at a lot of things. And he's young. He's only 21 years old. Right. And in bantamweight terms, that's a baby. Like, you're just learning. I'm worried about this opponent he has coming up, because Kevin Garcia has been around a while. He has a lot of experience. He's fought in LUX. He's fought in Combate. He's been in the Pan American Games. Like, this guy has been around for a while. For a young 23-year-old, you're talking about a world of experience for somebody only 23 years old. And then, like we talked about, he's been in LUX. This is now his 4th fight in LUX Fight League, so he's not new to the stage. He's been in Combate a couple times, but actually, I think 3 times, and then also Combate Extremo, which is kind of like a variation. Like, so he's been doing different stuff in around Mexico and fighting a lot. We always talk about some of these records. We don't really know what's kind of hidden that hasn't been recorded and stuff like that. But this kid has a long record of stuff that has been recorded, and he's only 23. So Kevin Garcia is going to be a very tough challenge for Benavides. Now, Benavides is kind of getting that little rub, that little push, like he's coming up next. Everybody's very high on him. He kind of seemed to work out his mistakes after that loss to Reyes, where he got caught in the rear naked choke. Um, One thing I will say about, because you can actually see the Reyes fight on YouTube. I saw that, and one
Okay.
thing I would say is that he didn't take the loss well, and I think that's a good thing. Like, he was sportsman, don't get me wrong, but you can see he was visibly bothered by the fact he lost his second fight ever. And like you said, he is a victim to the submission game. So maybe, just from an outsider's perspective, he should try to stand and bang a little bit more than he does, because he
Okay.
seems to he wants to stand and bang the first round. The second round, all of a sudden, he goes back to his takedowns. Like you said, the Costa Ricans wanting to try to do a lot of wrestling. And sometimes he ends up in good positions. And obviously, we've seen through his amateur career, he didn't always end up in good positions. What do
Yeah.
you know about Kevin Garcia, his opponent?
Well, Kevin Garcia went distance with David Mendoza, and that's not an easy thing to do. We know the El Leon, as they call him. He's the one that fought for the title twice against Marco Beltran. Lost both of those, but David Mendoza is a tough guy. A well-rounded young fighter that I think was just a little bit too early into the mix of the championship conversation by a few fights. He was just shy of experience in that aspect. But he went the distance with Kevin Garcia, went the distance with David Mendoza. I think that shows the durability of Garcia. That shows that he can handle himself really well with a high level guy. So it's going to be a tough one, man. Costa Rica, coming out of Costa Rica for the first time, going into a different country, and
Hostile territory.
Outside territory, and fighting a tough guy like Kevin Garcia. It's gonna be really interesting matchup for him to see if he can handle all that, that kind of pressure.
Yeah, we just talked about that when we were talking about LUX Fight League 21, right? Vias Mill was from Venezuela. She came into hostile territory. And what happened? That whole crowd was for Victoria Alba. In this case, same thing. Benavides come from Costa Rica, fighting a local Mexican fighter. I'm not sure if Garcia is from Mexico City or anything like that. I don't know if it actually says where he's actually from in Mexico. Oh, he's from Monterrey, or he fights out of Monterrey. So, but still, a Mexican fighter is going to get that crowd behind him over a Costa Rican fighter, because you know how, I don't have to tell you, obviously, but the Latin culture, very loyal to their own. Like, my wife is Peruvian by descent. She's only been probably like 10 times in her entire 40 years, but 41, not to age my wife. But anyway, she doesn't watch the show. It's fine.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, just age your wife.
Yeah. She don't watch any of this stuff. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
She's over watching some Love and Hip Hop, Real Housewives stuff. I don't know.
There we go. Okay.
Or SVU, which, so she knows how to hide my body if it's all done. But what I was saying is that, they're very loyal, even if it's by descent. So every country, if it's a soccer game, or if it's a boxing fight or something, like, the TV has to be on that country person, whether they even know who the person is. Right. But it's loyalty out of the traditions and respect for their country. So you got to know the whole crowd's going to be behind Kevin Garcia.
Okay. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. I think it's going to be a tough place to come in, LUX. I think it's going to be really interesting because every time we've traveled with these events, you see a little bit of different types of crowds, and I can tell you, Monterrey and Mexico City love LUX, man. It's crazy. They get packed. People get involved. They cheer on their fighters. It's really cool. And I've been in other places like when I went to Acapulco. There was like hardly anybody there. It was very small crowd there because it's more of a touristy, and it was kind of off season too. But here in Puebla, I'm curious to see how we're going to get the crowd to show up and really, get involved with that. So I'm curious to that for that. Cancun was awesome too, man. We had a lot of people show up for the Cancun fight. So, like I said, it's a different flavor of personnel that come and check it out. But man, it's going to be tough regardless for the Costa Rican to show up and be able to put hands on Garcia and try to put him out.
Yeah, and I got. Speaking of Pueblo, though, I think that I wouldn't think too many major events come down that way. So I got to think it's going to be a big deal. I think it's going to be like a packed house, and they're already promoting it now. We're in April; they're promoting the June event, so they're putting plenty of
Okay.
marketing behind that event. So I don't know what arena they're running out of down there. I don't know the area that well, but um, I've only been to Pueblo one time in my entire life, and that was 20 years ago. So,
Okay.
and that was like more of the touristy type thing, like, oh, this is where this happened, and this is where that happened, and it wasn't even for a whole day. I think I was there for like a couple hours,
Yeah.
uh, driving through different parts of the country.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I got a travel bug too. Okay, Alex, it's not
Okay.
just you.
All right. You're
It's just
welcome
been
to
a
come
long. It's just
anytime,
been a
man.
long. It's been a
You're
long
always
time.
invited.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Tell
Okay.
tell this tell the big C word to chill out, and then maybe we can get stuff done. Maybe the passport office wouldn't be so backed up and behind on everything.
Damn. Okay, that's a problem.
Uh, but yeah, we just told you about a couple fighters, Lazyboy Rodríguez, Roy Benavides, couple exciting fighters. Both of them have very tough matchups. So we'll obviously talk about that the week before the fight card and later in May. But we just want to keep breaking down some things. So me and Alex will talk about a couple new fighters to bring to you next week. We hope you enjoyed a little bit of this insight on a couple fighters this week. I know anytime we've done this, we've gotten the fighters involved, which is great. You know, it's cheap publicity. We take it, uh, but we do love these guys. We love what we do. We love giving a spotlight, especially south of the border. A lot of the American audience doesn't know what's going on. They see Combate Global, they see LUX Fight League on the UFC Fight Pass and stuff like that. But it's also why we were excited when Combate Global signed the European deal. It's just more eyes on these Latin fighters who were always fun and exciting. Before there was a Brandon Moreno or a Davison Figueiredo, or back in the day, an Anderson Silva or Vitor Belfort coming from some of these Latin countries. Uh, they were fighting on these regional scenes, and this is really cool to give you a glimpse of some of these young fighters because, especially, Alex will tell you all day long, these bantamweights come down to fight.
Yeah.
There's not a boring bantamweight fight. I don't think I've ever seen one. Have you?
No, I don't think so. But we got guys like Selhuber who already joined the UFC. Guys that we've had our eyes on for a while, and those guys are just crushing it now, man. Knockouts that are, they're coming into their own right now, and it's really cool, man. I like you see those guys going out there and just tearing it up in the UFC. So
Well, I mean, if you look at almost the entire 125-pound division in the UFC, the flyweights, almost most of them have Latin descent.
yeah, in fact, I can't believe still to this day why um Alessandro Nono Acosta hasn't been signed to the UFC. I'm like, what is going on, man? What else do you got to do?
He's in a division they've been trying to kill for years. That's why.
Jesus Christ.
After Mighty Mouse left, the whole idea was, and Henry Cejudo was doing the bantamweight thing. They thought 100. Even your boy Shorty Torres said the same thing. That's why he got in trouble with the UFC. The division was dead. They were going to get rid of it the same way they were supposed to get. They're trying to get rid of the women's 145-pound division now. Unless somebody comes along, in this case, Moreno and Figueiredo came along with an exciting trilogy. Now a quadrilogy coming up. Unless both of them fight Kai Kara France. I don't know. Maybe it's like a triple threat match. I don't know. Like three guys in the cage at the same time. Let's see what happens.
That dude's a beast too, man. And he's so much fun to watch.
But shit, Alex Pinto, Alex Perez. I mean, so many guys, just knocking on that door. And that, like I said, that's the great thing about showcasing some of these young fighters, because now you get to know them before you actually see them, and you have a little bit more insight. So we hope you like it. Make sure you leave a comment below. Always tell Alex how great he is. He loves that stuff. He eats it up. I'm sure if you follow him on social media, his links are below. You'll see what next adventure he's on, whether it's riding a bike through the jungle or doing some kind of crazy stuff. Alex is always out having fun. So check him out. All those links are below. Make sure you check out FightersFirst.shop, get the Extremo collection, and all the really cool vintage 22 stuff we've been putting out there. I promise the Crossing Borders shirt is coming for the vintage 22 collection. I've gotten almost everything else done. I'm just having a mental block on how I want to do it differently, because our current shirt's kind of vintage looking. So I kind of want to do something a little different. And I'm just trying to figure it out. But it's coming soon. as well as the Extremo hoodies and sweatpants and stuff to go with his current collection as well. Those will be rolling out later this month to get all that fun stuff as well. Because you know those chilly 60 and 70 degree days in San Diego, you need to get warm. So
60 degrees.
you got
awful.
a long sleeve. You got a long sleeve pullover right now. I don't even want to hear you.
It's 62 degrees. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 84 right now here. That's why I got a T-shirt. See,
there we go. There you go.
And my Art of MMA vintage shirt.
Yeah, love that one.
Well, good. Go buy it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough blabbering for this week. Next week, we'll bring you a couple new profiles. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you follow us on social media, like, and subscribe. For Extremo Alex Soto, I am Mike Ginn. This is Crossing Borders, and we're out.